the relationship that you build over time is extremely precious. Trust compound over time in business and life. To build that tech company, to build that startup, it requires a lot of different expertise from the technology side, from the compliance side, from the human resources side. There is so many aspects of it. And in order to really achieve building your product, you need to surround yourself from people who are expert of those different verticals, right? Creating these human connections basically pays off over time, and it's also really rewarding too.
Welcome to the CTRL ALT GAB podcast, where we sit down with tech founders to break down how they scale, pivot, and grow. I'm your host, Gabrielle Walthers. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the CTRL ALT GAB podcast. Today, we are joined by one of the co-founders of Credibled, the wonderful Elvine Assouline. So thank you so much, Elvine, for joining us today. We are so excited to dive into your story, explore what you do over there at Credibled, and see what your journey has been scaling and growing your company. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabrielle. It's such a pleasure. I'm excited about this podcast.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to chat with you today. I first want to start us off by really looking at the origin story of Credibled and what exactly led you to that space, specifically to that solution, and what it was that you saw as an opportunity there. You have a diverse resume, and so I'm curious, what led you here specifically, and what was your inspiration for getting Credibled off the ground?
Thanks for the question. Well, let me clear that out first. Credibled didn't really start as my idea. I need to clear that. I think it's important. The initial idea came from my co-founder, Brad, who's been running a staffing agency since 2003. So he lives the pain of reference check every single day. He's the one who knows it really. So the original concept of Credibled was actually a B2C product. I think we'll probably detail later on today what Credibled is really doing, but I wanted to explain sometime, how an idea can mature over time. When you create a company, it's really not clear right away. The idea was candidate would basically complete a reference check on their own, right, as they evolved in their career and earned, let's say, a credible digital trust badge. And the employer would basically verify the reference check instantly. The idea was good and strong, but to be realistic, to get into consumer trust network, it's a different ballgame. It's a massive different ballgame because huge adoption, right? If you want to succeed in that space, you need massive adoption. So we went more on the B2B side and trying to focus more on the employer and the staffing agencies, because again, that's why my business partner also understanding and trying to get into the hiring workflow and building credibility and compliance at scale, but on the B2C side. And 5 years later, trust is still at the core of Credibled. And today, actually a month ago, we went full circle and created our first B2C product called MyCheck, offering Canadian criminal record checks for individuals as well, almost half the price of the current market price. So we started wanting to do B2C. We then flipped to B2B and now back to B2C a bit on this new product.
Nice. And so what then, from your perspective, attracted you to this opportunity? And, what was your personal motivation for, joining your co-founder in this journey, given that, this, wasn't your idea to start it, but definitely was, had to be still a big choice for you to, partner and join in that co-founder journey?
I think on my side, entrepreneurship came first. And tech came second, more as like a tool, right? I did study IT, so that's really something I like. I'm passionate about tech. And the reason was, I think, just stars aligning on that Credibled project. Let's rewind things a little bit. When I moved to Canada, it was in 2016, and at the time I was doing an MBA. Back in Paris, in France. As your audience can probably hear clearly, I do have a French accent. When I moved to Canada, it was actually to basically improve my English, because at the time, it was required for me to validate an English test to validate my degree. And I could not do that. Like, my English was so bad, I could not align two English words together. So I came here as an au pair. So an au pair is basically, let's say, kind of a nanny, but like living with the family. So you don't go to work. You basically living at work. And I did that in parallel of doing English classes and stuff like that. Because again, I had one goal, and that was getting my MBA. So English was my priority number one. And the family I was an au pair for ended up being Brad's family, my business partner. At the time, the boys were like 5 and 7, so I learned a lot on that side. What I want to say here is I knew Brad before we started Credible, and on his side, he's been operating that staffing company, and he's also an entrepreneur himself on different fronts as well. So the staffing company, Pure Staffing Solutions, but also the outsourcing company called BIMSA. And on my side, I eventually graduated, moved to Canada, worked for a startup called Grapevine 6, lived the startup life, and it was actually quite a success story too here. On the Grapevine 6 side, what was really fantastic is that was, I think, my first job in Canada. Sure, my English was okay, but not amazing, right? And I think what's beautiful about it is this company really gave me a chance that I'm not really sure I would have had in France if my French was at the same level that my English was at the time. I don't know if that makes sense, but
That makes sense, yeah.
I started this company doing literally anything, like from the guy said, you know what, you have an MBA, you're going to do revenue projection. Then you're going to do marketing. Then you're going to do translation because you're French. So why not?
Especially in Canada.
Yeah.
You'll be doing translation.
We were actually chasing one of the big 5 banks, and we needed to have the app translated in French. I eventually shifted more into the product side as a business analyst, and the company, we grew from 13-ish to 65 plus and got acquired by a much larger company called Seismic. So being able to see the growth and the challenges from the inside of a small startup was really good, really great, because working at any startups is a challenge, right? Like you learn a lot, but working at a startup that went through so many things, like from growth to acquisition to, merging products to wearing different hats, seeing how it works as well as the team grows and the different changes as well throughout the life of the company was really, really good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And to circle back to the question of why I'm coming here, at the time, we eventually actually started to work on Credible more kind of as a side project. Brad and I are a very close friend, and we're, talking Credible as more like a project. See what we can do about how far can we take it. At the time, I was still working for Grapevine 6, and the company got acquired. So then I was working then for Seismic, a much larger company. There is, I think, a tipping point where a project is not sustainable as just another job that you can do after your work day, because it just requires more of you. And as I said, like entrepreneur first, that's kind of how we decide to make it happen.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. I feel like very few co-founders meet themselves in a almost like you were his babysitter, kind of, with extra steps there, a little bit more involved than that, but that's very cool. And I love the connection to why you came to Canada, and it feels a bit like a stars aligned situation with regard to how you landed at Credible and all that good stuff, which I love. That's what life is. It's just about a series of events that lead you to where you're supposed to go. I did an exchange in Quebec and Trois-Rivières to learn French. So it's a good country to learn both languages. If you move to Canada and you're like, I hate this language, I'm just going to go live in Quebec for a while. So there's also
immersion is key. Like to learn any languages, immersion is really key here.
Yeah, it literally, you can't learn anything without immersion, and actually needing to speak it is very important. I love that. I also think it's interesting, just all of the different things that you've done, from being an au pair to being a magician, not being in tech specifically, but wanting to be an entrepreneur and then finding yourself in tech. What are the, principles or lessons learned that you have taken with you from your other ventures into Credible that really helped you be successful?
Oh, thanks for that question. It's such a tough one. What did I learn? So, as you mentioned, I was a magician too, mainly in part of my study. Again, because I like entrepreneurship, so I wanted to do something on my own. And I think what I learned as being a magician and then actually created an event company in Paris was a few things. First, when you're doing magic, right, when you're performing in front of an audience, you learn how to read people. You learn how to read a crowd. You learn how to manage attention, and finally, how to design a structured experience, right?
Hmm.
Because to put a show together, you need to have something that is going to captivate the audience from A to Z, right? And this is applicable in a lot of different aspects of your life, in business and life, right? You also learn, doing events, right? You work with a lot of things that you can't control because you work with people. Then you have, weather aspect. You have emotions. You have the last minute changes from the clients. You have client management too, right? So you learn to have like a plan A, but often make sure that you're creative enough to create a plan B and eventually a plan C too, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And then by the time you land on plan B, you'll have to have a plan D. And yeah, totally. No, I really love that. Outside of Freshly Pressed, I work in comedy. I'm a stand-up comedian as well. And
Excellent.
so I think about this all the time, the intersect between top of funnel business activities and performance of any capacity, music, magic, comedy, anything. It distills the pieces that are the most important to having success. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of that is people management, like you mentioned. I think a lot of that too is being a good improviser, ultimately, like having things go off the rails and bringing it
Yeah.
back to rails. Like, how important is that for sales and client management, customer success, all of those pieces? I love being able to talk to other people who have a performance art piece and seeing how they're able to translate that into running their business. I want to hear from your perspective how those skills that you've developed as a performer have impacted your ability to scale Credible, and has it helped you in some of those activities
Yeah.
and strategies and campaigns and stuff like that? And just walk us through what that looked like.
Yeah, sure. Credible, what we do is we automate background checks. Today we cover 12 different types of background checks over 200 different jurisdictions across the world. What we do is really creating trust or ensuring that there is trust here. And these trust aspects is something I learned as well as an entertainer, as an event planner, because I actually eventually sold that company to a friend of mine, which kind of echo again that the relationship that you build over time is extremely precious, and trust compound over time in
Hmm.
business and life, right? And you never know if it's going to be useful for you in business or as a friend, for example, who is going to buy your small business, and how does it translate into um, what Credible does today. It's the same. To build that tech company, to build that startup, it requires a lot of different expertise, okay? From the technology side, from the compliance side, from the human resources side, from where to get started. There is so many aspects of it. And
Hmm.
in order to really achieve building your product, you need to surround yourself from people who are expert of those different verticals, right? And that's something I learned at the very early age, doing those small gigs, creating these human connections basically pays off over time, and it's also really rewarding too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that piece you brought up about trust compounding. That's a really important element for a lot of people to remember as they go through rebrands or expansions or anything like that. Like, the more I think attention and effort and resources are put to trust building, that's never in vain. And you can never have too much of that built. You're never going to max out on customer and consumer trust and stuff like that.
No, and it's something you have to constantly work on. It's
Mhm.
never something you like, hey, it's done. I've got it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not something that comes just by accident either. You're not just gonna build it consequentially by just doing your day-to-day operations. It needs to have that intentionality behind it for sure. I forget exactly where this was, but I read the sentiment of being in the space that you're in with regard to reference checks and all of those pieces. There's several folks operating in that space, a lot of big players in that space as well. And so what has worked well, and maybe on the other hand, maybe hasn't worked so well in trying to break through the industry noise and stand out amongst your competitors and not getting lost or buried by those bigger companies that are in the same space?
I love that question. So you're right. We do have competitions. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing we have competitions. Do you know why? It's because it shows that it's a business that has been around for quite some time, already exists. There is already a big market for it. And competition also helps companies to raise the bar for themselves and for the competition at the same time. You mentioned competition that has been around for a long time. We've been around only for 5 years. We created Credible in 2020, soon 6 years. Let's, without digging too much into it, but like Sterling, which is one of the historical competitor in that space, I think was founded in 1975. Like I wasn't even born. So yes, they've been around for quite some time, and actually they've been acquired last year by First Advantage for $2.2 billion. So sure, we do have competitions. They are large, they're big, and that's where we're different. So the bigger you are, the slower you move, right? I think one of the things that we've been doing very well is come up with transparent pricing. Background checks has become a commodity at a luxury price in Canada, which shouldn't be.
Which is crazy considering like it's such a normalized and frequent process for everyone.
Not only it's crazy, but also it's the same thing. What I mean by that is whether you're going with any of the competitors, I'm not going to mention them all, we're all going to police stations. Like at the end of the day, this is a police officer providing the information if what your claim is saying is what's matching into the RCMP database, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on that side, you're basically getting the same thing, but pricing is all over the map. So when we came up with Credible, it's like, hey, there is no like pricing based on how you look today. It's going to be, we have actually a grid that we present to our clients right away, right? And then if you have really high volume, then we can eventually decrease the price. So that's number one. Number two is support. So when everyone is embracing AI, and we love AI at Credible, we use it, I use it, but I think it's about how you implement it and in what. We've seen a lot, and honestly, that's kind of an easy switch when we have new leads that comes to us, is on the support side. We've seen a lot of frustration when all they have as an option sometimes is just an AI bot, right? So they answer whatever questions they have, or can you please keep me updated on like why this check is taking so long, or why is still like in progress. It's been like 48 hours. And the only thing that's going to do is like, hey, thank you for reaching out. We're going to circle back to you in 48 hours. That's not okay. In the staffing industry.
That's what I was waiting for? Yeah.
That's not okay. So on our side, what we do is support. You get an actual human behind it, right? Whether it's phone call, whether it's a chat. We do have a chat on the actual live website, credible.com. You can chat with any of the support tech member right now. We also have a dedicated channel for it. And one of the key differentiator is a lot of those big actors, they don't really focus on SMBs and SMEs. Like they don't really care. You won't even have a customer success manager or an account manager assigned to your account unless you represent at least 50 plus K. The small entrepreneur or the staffing company who is doing, a few thousand a year, that's not going to be big enough for them. So they're not getting a rep, which is really frustrating for them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key differentiation. And lastly, when we created Credible, we started with reference checking. And I think we nailed that. I'm biased, obviously, but I think we did it great. Because we saw it through the lens of a staffing company, we created features that really catered their needs that other competitors don't really. To give you an example here is we have a lead generation feature embedded into the reference check, asking the referee if they're actually looking for a job or looking to hire themselves. That's huge. That's huge for a staffing company, because building their database of candidates or building their new orders, that's gold. That's just pure gold for that for them. And they were already doing that, but most of the time over the phone. I don't know about your office situation, but like in my office here, I have colleagues sitting here in front of me and all around. If I were to look for a job, I don't know how confident I would be over the phone saying, yeah, I'm actually
Yeah, yeah,
I'm actually
actually,
looking
totally,
out.
literally, yeah. Such a huge opportunity with that, even just the financial transparency piece, like having big competitors that are making a critical error, I think is such a great space for you guys to capitalize. It's very clear how your unique positioning has allowed you to have success early on and be able to have consistent clients and leads coming in and stuff like that. But in the past 5 years, what has stuck out as the biggest scaling challenge and the biggest growth challenge that you guys have had to deal with? Is that something that you've been able to get over the hump and problem solve effectively? Is it something that you're still struggling with now? Yeah, walk us through the challenges.
Thanks. There are so many. When we talk about challenges, the challenges will evolve over time within the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the very early stage of the company, you don't have the same challenges than
Mm-hmm.
later on. But I think there is maybe one in common when you bootstrap a company is you never have enough resources. There is
Yeah.
so much to do. There is so much to do, and only finite amount
Mm-hmm.
of resources you have.
Yeah.
And resources could be your staff, right? Like your employees, but it's also time. Like there is only 24 hours a day. And there is only so many connections you have in your network too. And there's just so many things to do. So maybe one of the biggest for us has been resources. And I think that's also common to other entrepreneurs too. It's you have to learn how to prioritize, right? There is so many things you can do. Ideas is not the issue here. Like everyone has great ideas and we can implement plenty of new features. What's tricky is about prioritizing which one you want to do first, right? And you want to
Mm-hmm.
address first. Because when you start growing, you have clients you need to take care, right? And you cannot build in detriment to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also finding the right pace between managing resources, prioritization, and keeping the business running on day-to-day basis.
And having to keep all three of those balls in the air at the same time, not dropping them. And so as we go into 2026, what is the priority? What is number one on the prioritization list? And what is informing a lot of the activities and the efforts of the team over this next year?
Oh, such a great question. So as I mentioned earlier here, we launched a new consumer product called My Check for individual who wish to do their own criminal background checks. I think we'll probably push a little bit more on that side too. While on the B2B side, there is so many that we are currently doing that I want to keep doing and probably even grow. So we have different programs, like a startup program, for example, for startups to help actually startups and founders to do their first hires, and entirely for free. We have a nonprofit program as well. I want to create more and more partnerships as well with other local actors, part of different groups like Tech2, for example, or La French Tech Toronto, and others. So that's something that Credible will keep doing is creating and being present in this ecosystem. And it's also probably growing the team. One thing that we'll not stop doing is keep taking care of our clients. And we'll keep adding more features, obviously, but at the right pace to ensure that it's communicated with our clients, to ensure that it's the one that they want. We actually have recently, we received such a fantastic reviews on G2. One of our clients said like, hey, I requested that feature 2 weeks later, we had it. So being flexible and agile is something we'll keep doing in 2026. And I don't want to tease too much, but we have big expectation for 2026.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, as new products to market, looking to grow your team and continuing to have high customer success and continuing to scrape together those great case studies and stuff like that. That's amazing. Is there anything new that you guys are going to be implementing to achieve that growth? Are you guys going to be, running more outreach campaigns? Are you going to be going to events more? Is there going to be more dedication towards accessing connections and referrals and stuff like that? Kind of what are the growth activities that we're looking to either continue or implement next year, or whatever time frame you think in?
Sure. So when it comes to like marketing, like growth, basically, or strategic growth, one thing that we've seen working actually very well for us is ChatGPT. Like, I don't know how, but we've been ranked on ChatGPT so well. So I think we'll keep stressing on that. I think our SEO team is doing a fantastic job here. Being present in the community and for the community is something that I really care and I will keep doing and Credible will keep doing partnership. One part of the growth as well for us has been just, word of mouth. That's been ancient in terms of marketing, but it's been relevant and it works. If you do a good job, your clients will pay you back on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one other thing that we're going to focus on 2026 is we have also great APIs where like other startups or other companies who wish to integrate with us can. And that's going to be also a vertical we're going to push more and more is on the integration side for Credible, being able to integrate with us.
Amazing. I love that. Well, it seems like you guys have a big year, a lot of goals, a lot of exciting things coming down. It's always great to launch a new product and comes with a lot of work as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is you guys get up to for this next year. And as we wrap up here, I do want to give you an opportunity to just let folks know where to find you, where to learn more about Credible, where to, sign up for the B2C offering, where to reach out to you if they have any questions. Just make yourself as visible as possible to everyone listening at home.
First of all, Gabrielle, I'd like to thank you for having me on this podcast and giving me the opportunity to talk about Credible. How to reach out to me? It's very simple. I'm someone who is extremely active on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is your go-to. You can find me at just typing my name, Elvine Assouline. You can also reach out to credible.com. We have a team that will gladly redirect you to me without any problem. And finally, we are a Toronto-based company, and we go to different events, whether it's Source Canada, whether it's Tech2, the different events in the city. It could be me, it could be my business partner, it could be some of our associates here. But yeah, we are around, we're active as well. Come to see us at these events. We also post on social if you want to know where we go. And that's probably the best way to reach out to me. LinkedIn,
Amazing.
Credible.com, or those different in-person events.
Amazing. I love that. So easy, which is perfect. And if you are curious about what we do over here at Freshly, you can check us out at freshly-pressed.ca. If you're a tech founder and you are curious about being featured over here on Control Alt Gab, we have a form on our site under the podcast tab that you can fill out, and a member of our team will reach out to you. So thank you so much, Elvine, for joining us today. It was so great to hear your story, learn about Credible, understand your approach to scaling and growth. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you for listening to the Control Alt Gab podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.